I'm Maureen Johnson, and you are listening to Your Beautiful Day on the Gratitude Radio Network.
Welcome to Your Beautiful Day on the Gratitude Radio Network. I'm Jen Mogg, Mother of Gratitude, and I hope wherever you're going today that you find some gratitude and inspiration in your life. And today we have the great syndicate. We have Neil Haley. Hello, Neil.
Hey, what's going on? How are you? I'm
good.
Excited about our guest for sure.
I love it. And then my life coach, because God knows I need one, Pearl Sharenza. Hey, Pearl.
Hey, everybody. Hope you are having an amazing day. This is going to be a lot of fun.
This is going to be great. Thank you guys for being with me today. And I'd like to introduce our guest, who is pretty amazing in herself, Maureen Johnson. She's an author, and her book is Hello, Cruel Heart. Welcome, Maureen.
Hi. So happy to be here.
Hey, Maureen, how are you? And so this has been crazy. You're a New York Times bestselling author, right, Maureen? Kind of give a little bit about your background before getting to this book, to people know that you've been writing for a while and stuff, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a YA author, which is young adult, and I've written, 15, 16 novels. I've also worked collaboratively with other YA authors like John Green and Cassandra Clare. I had with John Green and Laura Markle, had a movie out on Netflix called Let It Snow, which some people may have seen, which is a Christmas movie. But Hello, Cruel Heart is my first project with Disney.
Awesome. All right, go, Jen. First question for Maureen.
Congratulations. I love Disney. Tell us about Hello, Cruel Heart.
Well, Hello, Cruel Heart is the prequel to what you'll see in the upcoming Disney film Cruella, which is the origin story of Cruella de Vil, which is a little hard, right? Because she's nobody's favorite. She hasn't got a lot of redeeming qualities. You don't look at Cruella and de Vil and think, now there's someone with a lot of varied interests. But I got into this. Disney approached me and said, we're making this Cruella film, and we really like to develop her backstory as a teenager. And so what we see in Hello, Cruel Heart is it's 1967 London. It's swinging London. It's one of the coolest times to ever be in London. Everything's happening in terms of music and fashion and art. And in this mix is Estella, as Cruella is called, who lives with Jasper and Horace in the Lair, which is half of a bombed out building, because at this point, London is still half wrecked from World War I. And so they live in this amazing place that you'll get to see in the movie as well, which is a bombed out but amazing space. And she is a fashion designer, but she's very poor. They have to steal to make their money and survive, but she's determined to make it in the fashion world. And she steals cloth and she makes clothes. And she finally gets her break one day when she meets a very rich brother and sister who introduce her to the world of London society, fashion, and rock and roll. And the story takes off from there.
All right. That Pearl, your question. Maureen.
I'm so excited to see more read about the book. I actually ordered it today. And then also I can't wait to see but what I wanted to know is, what was it like to flesh out the teenagers of such a iconic Disney villain?
Well, it required some thought. This story arcs into what you see in Cruella. And just for reference, the film takes place in the mid-70s. So she's in her 20s in that point, and it's punk London. So I read the script. I got to see all of the assets. I got to see all the creations of that point. And then I really worked with that as the center point. And then I dialed back to London in 1967 and really dug down into what might influence someone who is 16 years old and is poor at that particular junction of time, which the reason I wanted to do this is because that is since I was about 13 years old, one of my deepest, most profound obsessive interests is everything that was going on in swinging London, everything that was going on with music, with all of it. So I had years and years and years of just knowledge that was not good for anything else. But I was finally called upon to do the one thing that I've been prepping for my entire life, and that is this, talking about what an amazing time period this was, and setting someone in the middle of it was incredibly fun.
I love the creativity of that, because you're pulling from just a plethora of creativity that's been inside of you forever. I'm writing, so I understand. I write screenplays. And just to have that knowledge and finally have somewhere to put it out, especially Cruella. I always liked, for some reason, I always loved 101 Dalmatians. And I just thought her character was just extraordinary.
Yeah.
She's extraordinary that they would write. This is very gutsy, and no pun intended, but this is a very gutsy thing for Disney to put on. And by the way, we skin animals, and that's what she wants to do, and it's a kid's book.
Well, that's Jodie Smith. She is an amazing writer and has always been one of my favorites, especially her book, I Capture the Castle, which is one of the incredible classics of young adult literature, which was written in the 50s. She is a very strange and extraordinary writer. She wrote a book called The Starlight Barking, which is about space dogs who are trying to save the planet. I mean, it's not what you expect. So I tried to always remember what would Jodie Smith do, because this is Jodie Smith's character.
And it's hilarious.
And a lot of people don't know that backstory. And now I guess the backstory when the movie comes out, but no one really knows that character. And it's always interesting to look back to their childhood, right? Or their mid-age, and what kind of led them into that villain that they are today. Or anytime you look at someone's story, you have to look at their childhood, especially their teenage years in certain ways. And that's why you're that type of writer, right? Because that's a perfect time where everyone's developing and figuring out who they are.
It's a time of firsts. And that's, I think, what really defines YA, is that you're seeing a lot of firsts happen. First loves and first heartbreaks and first experiences away from home, and all the things that you have to do for the first time, and the deep impression that makes on you. So it's a very rich time in life to write about, which is why I do it.
So talking about impressions and experiences. So did you take any of your inspiration that you use? I loved that you were used to work, like the restaurant where it was like a horror restaurant. I think I remember reading,
It's a haunted house restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then also you filled in, like you made it look like there's more employees there than what was really there. So did you like take any of that inspiration and use it while you're writing the book?
Well, I certainly have had a lot in the past. When I first moved to New York, I moved here to become a writer and go to graduate school. And I worked in theater, and I wrote, and I went to graduate school, which meant I was broke constantly and had to take every single job that came down the path. And a lot of those were weird. And I definitely know that feeling of you're always sort of on the lookout for another gig, another job, another way to pay the rent. And this story, which is Cruella trying to survive. And I mean, hers is a little more extreme. She's an orphan. She lives in a bombed out lair and steals. Like this is what's great, is that Disney does a great big story. You don't usually get the little ones. You get really great villains and really great heroes and really great big arcs. But I did get to unpack a little bit of my experience. For example, as a kid, I wanted to be a writer, and I just wrote all the time. That's all I did. And I thought, I want to be a writer, but I don't know how that happens. This is just something I do in my room. And that is Estella trying to make her clothes. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to sit here and make these clothes. And then eventually I'm going to get over there and become a fashion designer. But how you make that leap from what you do at home to what you want to be is a great big question mark that I'm very familiar with.
I have to look back at what I was thinking at that time, because I kind of gone full circle to that in certain ways. I always, like when I was a kid, I always was into radio. I was always into like play-by-play and sports and just all these different things. Then I ended up going a different route. And then I look at myself today, and a lot of those characteristics were there. And Maureen, I think that's the fascination of looking at people and their direction and journey, where it might take them a long time to really get what their true inner child is.
Yeah. And figuring out how to take that and put it into the outside world, how to take that passion you have and do that career that you may not know. I certainly didn't know how people became writers. I was like, it was just giant question marks. I had absolutely no clue. So likewise, writing about someone who wants to become something and has no idea how is definitely something I relate to.
And then I look at even what my radio journey 11 years ago to now social audio, and Jen will know, understand that more. And now finally finding my passion in social audio, which is really weird. It wasn't working as much because there's not enough back and forth in podcasting and radio as there is in social audio. And I'm like, wow, what a perfect fit. Just giving that as a plug in some ways of we do these things and they might not hit the mark, and then they finally do hit the mark. And that's the weird thing about journeys. But go ahead, Jen. The next question.
Hey, well, I was wondering, what was the piece that you wrote or your breakout article that inspired Disney to come for you and ask for you to do this?
I don't write, I'm not a journalist, so I don't write pieces that often. But I have been, I've written, like I said, 15 or 16 novels. So I guess in YA, people, they just approached me because of my background.
So it was your style of writing that they said this would be perfect?
I guess so. I hope so. I mean, are you one of the go-tos, Maureen, in YA, you think, or what would you say?
Well,
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't often take on project. I usually do my own novels as opposed to taking on projects like this. But it was what drew me to it was the period and I wanted to write about that period. And so my agent said, would you consider this one? What do you think about it? And I was like, I want to write about London in 1967. I want to do that. Give that
that to me immediately.
Oh, yes, that was me.
Exactly. Good, Pearl. Next question.
So I'm an author. I've written some just like self books about business and things like that. And so what would you say, Maureen, is the biggest challenge in today's world for YA artists and publishers?
Well, that's a hard one because YA was a widely expanded field. I've been writing YA novels since 2004. So I've seen just how the range of the books has just blew up. So it's very competitive. At the same time, there are a lot more editors and imprints out there that deal in YA. I think that I'm not sure that there's anything in particular about writing for YA that's a challenge that isn't applicable to any form of publishing. If anything, right. It has a wide berth right now. It has a lot of there's a lot of call for it. It is competitive, and you really do have to know your audience. It's not. You have to. I would just say read a lot of YA to get a sense of it, because people, I think, get the sense that you're somehow talking down or making a simplistic story. Right. There's nothing simplistic about it. The only difference between a YA novel and any other novel is usually the age of the protagonist.
And to get a young adult's attention is a lot more difficult than an adult in so many ways.
I think it's the other way around.
Really? Oh, really? Okay.
I really do.
I'm just thinking more like, a TikTok or certain social media to get them interested. It's harder to get them engaged. So you think it's easier in books? Yeah.
I think it's the other way around. I tend to find that YA readers are voracious. They will read across genres. They will read, or as adults, I think, get more fixed in one area that they read. They might read only mysteries or books about submarines or books about people who kiss on a bridge or something. YA readers they'll go to fantasy, they'll go to mystery, they'll go to contemporary, they'll read romance, and in the same breath, they'll read a space opera. It's really astonishing. And they also give you a lot of feedback. They get in touch with you and they let you know, good, bad, whatever. They really engage with the work. Also, they have to read it for school a lot. So sometimes it tends to be like a built-in thing.
Yeah, that is kind of like a built-in audience because they're ready for it. They're ready for what's next because they're going to have their everything they're going to need to do. What was your inspiration while writing Hello, Cruel Heart?
I started with just the image of the time, what London would have been like. Because again, World War II ends in 1945. So it's sometimes hard to remember how broken England was and how gray and how grim and how serious. And then all of a sudden, all of these young people kind of spring up like flowers in a billion colors and start wearing these extraordinary clothes and playing super loud music. And it's like, I always think of it like flowers or grass bursting out of concrete, that this really staid gray world kind of explodes in color. And it's very driven by music and my love of all the music of that time. And it's one of the few periods of fashion that I know anything about because I'm not a clothes person except for then. So then I took everything that I'd seen was going to be created, what you're going to see in the film, which is a great story. And then, yeah, I just kind of rolled it back and tried to figure out what is just, if you're an orphan and you're a pickpocket in this particular area of London and your goal is to be a fashion designer, and there's a lot of room to play with there. It was a very big, very nice sandbox to work in.
I love it. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait.
I think it's to be really good.
So excited. When is this coming out? When can we see this? When? How long do we have to wait?
I think the date is the 28th of May, I think is when it comes out. It's something like the 28th of May.
So they got to read Maureen's book first before going to see the movie.
You don't have to, but hey, I wouldn't say don't. I wouldn't say don't.
I'd say for sure. Okay, good, Pearl. Next question.
So Maureen, you touched my heart with talking about young writers. And so for that person that might be listening to this, that was like, I want to get in there. I want to start that path. What would you say to that person that's listening to us today? Where should they start? What should they be looking for within themselves?
Well, I think that one thing I always tell kids who say, I want to get published is I always say there's that writing and publishing are completely separate. That writing is a behavior. It's a thing you do. It's the thing that you make. And publishing is the business that puts that thing into a box and sends it into the world. And it's got business stuff in it. It's got a lot of weird gears and moving parts. To concentrate first on making yourself as a writer, and as hard as it is, take your time, because the way you learn to write is by writing really badly and making a lot of mistakes. That's correct process. You have to really write badly and do it boldly. Just go for it. No one has ever died because of a bad piece of of a bad story that you wrote down. So spend your time, write. Don't be afraid of writing badly, and don't worry so much about the publication process. And to really give it time. That's my major piece of advice, because again, it's often a lot of teenagers that are asking me.
Interesting. And it's always about doing it for the love of what you do. And then a lot of times you do it with their love, for the love, and keep trying to improve and become better. Someday it will work out for you. And if it doesn't, then you really don't love it as much, or you find something that you're more passionate about that you're very good at. So it's great advice. And it's something that not just for young people, but people out there, Maureen, if you would love to be in your place, trust me, lots of authors out there, regardless if it wasn't YA, but meaning successful as an author, best-selling author, they wish they could be there and how to do it and be published. And it's a dream of so many. And it's amazing to see, Maureen, when you agree, the amount of people now writing books. When they said, books were going passe, forget about it. And they just exploded with writing again, which is great, I think.
Books have never been passe. I mean, that's, people say all kinds of things.
I know. Okay. Endeavor.
I need my books. I need my bookcases. I need all of that.
Oh my goodness. Hello. Sorry. I've noticed you've been joined by somebody here.
Yes, that's the part of the Zoom for sure.
It's no, because I kept going, no. So no. His name was Mando. I went through all the Star Wars stuff. And now when I had them, Maureen, I had this complete Cruella de Vil moment when they were little kittens, and I'm like, oh, no wonder she liked to have it for a coat, because they're so soft. And
Oh my goodness.
they wake me up every morning purring before my alarm goes off. And No likes to join us, otherwise he's making.
Yeah, but we've had other animals in the background of the other guests too, Maureen. So,
Oh, my dog's in the other room. She's big and goofy and would come bounding in here and knock everything over, and that's her style. So.
See, luckily I'm not having the kids, and that's why I like doing Zoom now, because when I have my professional mic, I figured out a way to turn it down and have the caller come in and no one hear it. But it's like, oh my gosh, maybe you'll hear it, but yeah, it won't show up in the recording. Oh, it's that kind of craziness that we deal with all the time. Yeah. We want that soundproof studio, which is, there's no real way of doing it.
I'm amazed that there hasn't been any barking yet. It is a miracle.
Yeah. So Maureen, I have a question. So where can everybody find you? What are your social media links? And tell us more about how they can search you out.
I'm on Twitter at Maureen Johnson. I'm on Instagram at Maureen Johnson Books. And I'm generally online at MaureenJohnsonBooks.com.
And you have a podcast too. So people can, yeah.
I do. It's called Says Who Podcast. And I started it 4 years ago with my friend Dan Sinker, who created the magazine Punk Planet. And it it's sort of a weekly digesting the news chat, but it's built up into a very nice community of regular listeners that what I find really fascinating is sometimes you make something and then a community builds and they all make friends with each other and they start Facebook pages and they do projects together. So it's the magic of social media sometimes.
Yeah. It's finding your community and rolling through that community, finding your tribe. And it's sometimes finding that tribe is a very interesting thing because they have to create it to the way that you speak to your people. And once you find them, and sometimes you can create them, yet they really aren't your tribe. And you find that out later on. It's a process. It really is. All right, Jen, I know you have two questions for Maureen. First one is the gratitude moment, then send us off. So go ahead.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. And thank you, Pearl and Neil, for being here with us today, as well as you guys. You know, there is one question I always ask everyone that comes on the show, and that is, could you just give us one gratitude moment that brought you through this process with your book?
Well, I wrote it during the pandemic, so there was a lot of gratitude. I live in New York City, so it was written during the worst of the time here, when we were really kind of genuinely barricaded inside. It was even dangerous to go in the hall. So I was very thankful just to sort of be safe and be able to do this for a job. I mean, it was very fundamental. And so this is a book I was writing from the safety of home. And I was like, thank you for the safe home. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who keeps us safe. This is that. I mean, it was a very fundamental thing.
That is beautiful. Thank you. From No and I.
Little cat butt in there. Sorry, little. Yeah. Oh, there's the tail. I
see, Maureen, you're showing some of the comedy that you have in you as well, right? Ready to go on stage for comedy? Always.
All right. As soon as we reopen, I'm out there.
Right. So you're a comedian too?
No.
Well.
No. I'm much too lazy to stand up all that time.
All right. Go ahead, Jen, and close us out, please.
All right. Well, from No and I. I wanted to. Okay, we have.
No, Jen, that's not yet. Just don't keep going.
Okay. Thank you. We'll have to do some stuff with that. So thank you, Maureen, for being with us today. We have had such an amazing pleasure of sitting down with Maureen Johnson and her book, Hello, Cruel Heart. And that goes with the Disney live action film Cruella.
Sorry, I'm entranced by No.
No is hilarious. And for the rest of you, it's my cat, No. Thank you so much for being on our show. Thank you for sharing with us the gratitude moment and during the pandemic and how this was inspirational and it kept you safe and it could be sound.
Yep.
And you were able to write about Cruella and giving another side of her that we haven't seen. And she's one of my favorite villains.
She's a good villain. She's a good one.
Yeah. You know what? My hair started turning white on one side. I was like, whoop.
You have a little bit like the darkness. Yeah, go for it. Just go the whole way, black and white.
I love Cruella. 101 cats. So thank you, Neil, for being with us. Thank you, Pearl, for being with us. And wherever you go, I hope that you have gratitude with you and know that you are loved, you are blessed, and you are sacred. Mwah. Have a good day.